Another important point to make, though, is the reason I define it in the way I do, which is it's addiction is the escape of an underlying emotional distress.
Mhm.
The reason I call it that is because that's the best way to understand it. And so, yes, some people have it way worse, or they choose a worse object for their addiction, but the underlying process is what we need to pay attention to. And so we're really all on that spectrum if we pay close enough attention. Because you could
Yeah.
say, well, by your definition, if you just have a little Hershey's Kiss at the end of your workday, and it's because you're kind of just spent or exhausted, or you know, or just feeling like you don't know what to do with yourself, like isn't that addiction by your definition? I say, well, yes, not to the level necessarily that someone would need treatment for that, or it's not creating life dysfunction. But yeah, I mean, you're a point oh something percent on that spectrum
Mm.
as the same person, who's got like multiple time a day heroin addiction. And so don't view that heroin addict as looks like completely faulty and so different, right? They're trying to escape life's problems, but we all do, like throughout the day. Um, so, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna definitely partake in some form of vice today, and I think that can be a nice part of life, but we need to be in mastery of it, and it needs to be deliberate, right? As a product of something we feel like is a good choice for us. So there's all kinds of differences, right, between someone who's like mostly well and a heroin addict that's using multiple times throughout the day and nodding, all day long. But but yeah, the spectrum is something we're all on, and I think it's a losing battle to try and say like, oh, at this one point you've become an addict. That's really more for research purposes. And by the way, the terminology I think distracts us as well. So not just the idea of like on off, like you either have an addiction or not,
Mm.
as far as it being binary. But even the terminology is very misleading and makes people lose track of what to do. So to say, I'm Daniel, I'm an alcoholic, or, I'm Daniel, I have an addiction. People think of that as like this courageous thing, like I'm raising my hand and I admit like I have a problem and it's vulnerable. And it's actually, to me, the wrong kind of vulnerability, because we're now attaching a label or a word that's shorthand for things that are much more intimate. So if I drink, because I am in a really bad marriage, I should just say that, say that I drink because I don't know, I feel trapped in this family life. I'm in a bad marriage and I don't know a better way to deal with that emotionally, and it's my shortcut to doing that. Now
Mm.
that's vulnerable, and that does not distract from what is really going on and what the problem is. But if I say I'm an alcoholic, what do I do with that? My argument, tongue in cheek, is I don't even know, as a specialist in this, like, if someone says I'm an addict or I'm an alcoholic, I don't know what to do for you. And I'm not even kidding. Like I won't know what to do until we understand the actual problem at hand. But what do I do other than say just don't drink that much or try not to
Mm.
drink at all? Like there's no productive framing there. There's no action to take. But if you talk about a bad marriage, there's a lot we can look at, ranging from communication to how y'all relate to each other to histories and baggage and all kinds of stuff, resentments. We can also do a lot with that if you're turning to that because of the bad marriage. Like, do you not have, peers you can turn to? Do you not have activities and hobbies or a larger life that you're able to lean on? Do you have other activities you can do in your kind of piss off moments? Like, there's so many things to look at if you state accurately what you're actually suffering with. But you see, if that person just said, I'm an alcoholic, what does that mean? Should I be scared of you? Should I be trying to help you? What do I even say? Was there's no trick for that anyway. There's now you're stuck with where people get stuck is like, that's just willpower now. I'm an alcoholic. I don't know how to stop. Okay, well, you need to try harder. It's just, you got to strong, use your willpower, you know better. And That's not a real strategy. I call that a command. So when we're shorthand with our labels and we just say, I'm depressed or I have an addiction, I'm an alcoholic, it's so vague and shuts off the opportunity to look at the real things, that you then in turn get vague answers, which is either an antidepressant or willpower, or it's a command. That's not treatment, it's not therapy, it's not a journey. It becomes a command to just make the right choice. It's like, well, if you've been depressed that long and you know better, you just need to get out. Now that's a command. That's not an actual therapeutic strategy.